Chelsea Football Club, Nottingham Forest and Manchester United all have this problem. All of them have a multi-club system, but it means one of them might even be missing out on the European competition if both teams make it in. We need to talk about it because Chelsea might have found a loophole again. Let me explain to you. Furthermore, Kendry Pies and Amugu, well, apparently their deals to Strasbourg are sorted out. However, the multi-club system might be stopping. I'm going to explain to you that as well. The two stories interlink. And the reality is, there's only one right answer, right? And finally, Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard decides to talk about his time at Chelsea for the second time. Now he's the commentary manager. And the reality is, what Frank said is not out of order. What Frank said is actually correct. But the fan base have to inflate it and conflate the situation just to generate some negativity. I'm going to explain to you why what Frank said is actually honest, transparent, and I have a lot of respect for Frank Lampard for doing what he did. Furthermore, what you need to do now is pay your rent. When you go into your house, when you come from outside, what do? You wash your hands. When you come to the Kavkas, you do me a favor, hit that like button. 1,000 likes goes a long way. And if you're new to the channel, listen, we're like 390 people away from getting to 40,000. So if you subscribe, I promise I'll deliver the best football content that you guys will need in regards to football in general and Chelsea. I promise you that. But let's get started. Chelsea Football Club have a little bit of a predicament. A little bit of a situation, as Specs Gonzalez would have. You know, a little bit of a problem. The problem here is we have got Strasbourg that are doing very well. Strasbourg that are actually overachieving from the expectations that were initially set on them. But, and this is the key aspect here, Strasbourg are doing too well. They're going to look like they could actually make the Champions League. And if Chelsea make the Champions League and Strasbourg finish ahead of Chelsea, Strasbourg are going to get priority into getting into the Champions League, and Chelsea will have to drop into the Europa League based on the fact that UEFA doesn't allow the multi-club system. A lot of people are going to say, but hold on, the RB clubs have been doing it for years. Salzburg and Leipzig have been in the Champions League. They're under different entities, and the way they have registered corporate lingo is done differently, okay? I don't understand it. I haven't even read into it. I haven't taken the time. But from my understanding, Blueco owns Chelsea and Strasbourg, meaning one of them would have to miss out. Matt Law is reporting that this is a similar issue that Nottingham Forest could face and Manchester United. But let's be honest here, United ain't getting no Champions League this year, so I don't know what they're worried about. Maybe not even Europa League. So let's be easy. Reports now are coming out that Chelsea have found another loophole. What Chelsea are going to do is become a trust. Put Strasbourg into a trust. Basically, they'll create a new entity that owns Strasbourg. Strasbourg will be in that entity, and until Strasbourg drop out the Champions League, then they'll reclaim the odds. There's one catch though, and the catch is Chelsea Football Club will not be able to do business with them. Meaning, you can't send players to them for favorable rates. You can't use the same database to scout players. Most probably, you can't even have the same scouts. It's very complicated. It's above my pay grade, I'll tell you right now. So the closer we get to it, there'll be more people writing articles on it. I'll research it. I can make the information more concise and bring it to you in a nice video form so you lot can understand it a bit more. But as of this moment, it looks like we might have a problem. Look, we might be reaching here and Strasbourg might not make the Champions League. And Chelsea might not make the Champions League. So there's no issue. But as it stands, Strasbourg are 1 point off second, if I'm not mistaken. Chelsea are in a very good position to make Champions League football. It is looking very likely that both clubs are going to be in the Champions League. According to L'Équipe, who is a very reputable source in France, they're saying that Chelsea have got 2 deals already almost settled for Strasbourg, right? They've got deals that are basically, all the principles have been agreed. It's a matter of now getting the deal across the line, and the players will be Strasbourg players. The 2 players are Matisse Mugu and Kendry Pies. For those of you that don't know, Matisse Mugu is a Chelsea player. Yes, you would be shocked, but he is a Chelsea player. He's on the Chelsea books. He was signed to train with Chelsea for 6 months. And then he's going to go to Strasbourg. And it's to the point where this kid isn't even getting any minutes as a bench player. It's actually really damning that he's not. It tells you the level of the player, that Caicedo and Enzo are expected to play every minute, and this kid can't even contribute 15, 10 minutes. But it is what it is. The reality is he's going to be going and replacing Andre Santos, and Santos is expected to come back to Chelsea. We've spoken on this situation. If Santos does not make it at Chelsea next year, it is damning on the whole project as a whole, because the whole principle of signing a £12 million player that can become a £60 million player is you keep him. you get him for a discounted fee. You don't need to go and buy another one. But that's another story. For Kendry Pies, this is a different equation altogether. This kid is meant to be the next big thing. At the age of 17, 18, he's already got numerous international caps, played in a Copa America, starts for Ecuador. But the problem is, this kid has had a little increase and then a decrease in form to the point where he's no longer starting at Ecuador. He needs regular minutes. And for me, he outgrew Independiente in Ecuador. It's got to the point now where he came to Chelsea, he's training with the first team, he will be in the Club World Cup squad, and this is where it gets very interesting for me. Eventually, he will be with the Club World Cup squad only to go on loan to Strasbourg. That is a role where Felix is currently playing. Felix Lamochan, if I'm not mistaken. And Felix Lamochan at this moment in time, he's playing to that point. And what's happening is, Felix will be a great competition for Kendry Pies, where he needs to develop, step up physically, as well as technically, to play in that number 10 role. This kid is very talented. A lot of people are saying he's as good as Estevao, he's as good as Andre Santos. We need to see it. What he needs for me is a 2-year loan. He needs to go somewhere, apply his trade, develop, nurture, and understand the different climate it is from playing Ecuadorian League football to Ligue 1. Because Ligue 1 prepares you very well for the Premier League. We've seen many players come across physically ready, mentally ready, tactically ready, and all of a sudden just hit the ground running the minute they come to the Premier League. That's what Chelsea need to hope happens with them. And then the old-aged argument needs to happen. If they do it at Strasbourg, are they good enough to do it at Chelsea? Because at the moment, Bakwa is on everybody's lips, man. Everybody as a Chelsea fan, firstly, they didn't know who Bakwa was until they watched the game against Lyon. Then all of a sudden, he's had a phenomenal performance. Everyone's better. He's better than everybody. He's better than Noni. He's better than Sancho. He's better than Neto. For me, I'm going to be honest, innit? Bakwa's a good player. But I've seen enough of Bakwa to know how frustrating he can be, how lackluster he can be, and how uninspiring he can be. He's a young player that needs to develop. Leave him there to develop. And if he slaps it and gets a good return of around about 15 to 18 goals, that's when you say, you know what, let's bring him across. You don't bring him across with these numbers that he's got at the moment. Let him develop. He's not better than Noni Madueke. I think we live in an era, right, of anything away at Chelsea is worse than anything out of Chelsea. And that's what fans want to hear. I don't agree with that kind of notion. Because I'm convinced, yeah, if you put Noni Madueke or Pedro Neto into that system, where they're the main sample piece of the attack, with the spacing behind that Strasbourg are getting, yo, they're gonna get a lot of good production. But that's just my opinion. I want to hear yours. Let me know your opinion. One final story today, and then we can call it a day. Like I said though, make sure you hit that like button because you made it this far. You're clearly enjoying it. 1,000 likes tells YouTube you're enjoying this content. Furthermore, subscribe. For like 300 away, man, from 40,000. I need to hit that. Finally, Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard at the moment is Coventry, man. Frank Lampard has taken a Coventry team that was fighting for their lives for relegation to playoff positions. To the point where now they're wondering, could we do the unthinkable and come up? Firstly, Frank Lampard deserves a lot of praise for that job. Look, at the end of the day, we all know my opinions on Frank Lampard, the manager. Don't think he's that great. I think he's been tactically outcoached on numerous occasions. He's shown in both spells at Chelsea that he wasn't of the level of Chelsea. He showed at Everton he's not of the level of Everton because Sean Dyche has come in, fixed the club, and then after Dyche, Moyes has come in, and both have taken the same group of core players actually to a very good standard. However, I've always been of the mindset managers that used to be good players get jobs too quickly that they can't deserve or don't deserve, to be more grammatically correct. The reality is Frank Lampard got a job that he wasn't qualified for. And what ended up happening is it cut a huge chunk of his development out. And now, after Derby, in my opinion, this is the most job that is the best job that is tailored to him. And if you look at Coventry, he's really developing there. I actually don't want them to get promoted. I think one more year in the Championship for him will be tremendous. Because if they go up, when they do badly, they're going to sack him. And then his reputation is in tatters. But if he has a good season where, you know, they're losing the playoffs, no problem. Next year, they win the league or they're in the playoffs and they get through the playoffs, then it's like, whoa, this guy can definitely get teams up from the Championship or make them very competitive. It's the next step now. Finding the right club in the Premier League or abroad that like just sings positive news for him. However, and this is where it gets interesting, he spoke about Chelsea. Frank Lampard spoke about Chelsea, and made it very clear what he thought. Fans took this away because they see the little snippet, they see the clip, they don't watch the clip, they only read what is written, because you know content creators are very sneaky. They're going to tell you the one line that basically portrays Chelsea in a light. But what Frank spoke about was everything I just said. He started at Derby, he developed a lot, he learned a lot. Went to Chelsea, learned how it was to coach a Champions League team. Developed there, made a Champions League team, got fired. Fair enough, learned his lesson. Went to Everton, learned at Everton what it's like to be in a relegation battle. And then he spoke about the Chelsea part where the quote comes from. He said, came back to Chelsea, was there for 7 weeks, saw how things shouldn't be done, and learned a lot from that, and now I'm a better manager. First of all, he is entitled to say how things shouldn't be done. The guy had to coach an army of players. There was like 42 players, the first team players. Do you know how hard it is telling most probably 20 players that all think they're good enough to play? Sorry, broski, you're not going to play this weekend. You're not going to make the squad. It is religiously hard. It is absolutely difficult to control that many egos. So for me, he's well entitled to say that. Furthermore, it was the first few months of the new ownership. The first season ended, Potter gets sacked, he comes in. You saw the turmoil that was happening in that first year. We didn't have a summer transfer window that was proper. Tuchel and Bowley were the sporting directors, and you could see by the transfers. Then the sporting directors came in, and we absolutely threw money at the table. Like, we bought anybody and everybody that moved. And now I feel like everything is kind of stabilized. I don't think this is a perfect project, by the way. I want to be very clear. I think it's got a lot of mistakes. But at the same time, it's not doom and gloom as some people want to portray. We have got a lot of extremist opinions within this fan base. There's a lot of people saying stuff that is just pure hyperbole just to create drama. I think what Frank Lampard said is absolutely spot on. There was a lot of things that shouldn't be done. Having 42 players in the first team during the season shouldn't be done. But it is what it is. Listen, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know your thoughts. Peace out, I'm out, have a lovely day.